Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nyatche Martha.
What are some things you bring to the social justice community?
I think social justice has not been a thing that I'm incredibly involved with, but I think having conversations with my family and just making sure that my parents are aware and my brothers are aware, my friends are aware, like what experiences I'm going through and how to help me out, and just make sure that they're not being complacent is one of the main things. My mom is Haitian, but she was born in New York, and then she grew up in New York and then moved to Haiti for a little while. And then my dad is Dutch, but when he went to college, he has a host family in Syracuse, New York. So he's in like a European state of mind, but also he has family in New York. And my grandpa now lives in Curacao in the Caribbean, so it's mainly Caribbean, European, and just complete ties to New York mainly.
What is the biggest challenge with this intersection?
Well, they're very different cultures, I think, Haiti and Holland. Just because of how in Holland, everyone rides their bike. And it's usually small towns and no one really goes anywhere, and they just have like this really set perspective. But in Haiti, they go through so much. And it's hard to connect with Holland just because we don't have a lot of family there compared to in Haiti. I actually lost my train of thought because of the trucks. But in Haiti, like the earthquake and just political riots and everything, it's just hard because in Holland everything seems so easy, where in Haiti it really isn't. And although my family is kind of like disconnected from that because we're very fortunate, it's hard to go there and see all like the disparity and then look at Holland like through social media or whatever and see how like free and relaxed they are all the time.
What parts of yourself are you most connected
I think I'm more connected to the Haitian side of me, not the culture of Haiti, but just my family. And French is a large part of my identity just because we speak it at home a lot. And my dad speaks French. My parents met in Paris, so I feel like most of my identity is French. Being an older sister, that's one thing, and being queer as well.
What's it like being gay with all these identities?
Well, again, with my dad and the traditional conservative isn't the right word, traditional is the right word. I think when I first came out, it was to my mom in like end of 8th grade and then again in beginning of 9th grade. Her reaction was kind of strange. She wasn't like completely accepting. She was just like, oh, I think everyone's like a little bit bisexual or whatever. And I was like, okay. But then I didn't come out to my dad for a while. And when I did, he kind of just brushed it off. And he doesn't really talk about religion. Like, he's not religious, but he grew up going to church. So I know that there's sometimes these ideas in the back of his mind that he might not be able to let go of. But he completely brushed it off for a few months after I came out to him, not really formally like I did with my mom. So I guess it was hard for him because I didn't like make a big thing of it, so he must have forgotten. But in the past few years, like I had a girlfriend once, and then I talk about girls sometimes, and I don't really like guys anymore. And I think he has a hard time accepting that sometimes, and so does my mom, honestly. But especially with him because we just don't talk about it. Like, it's hard for him to talk about it.
What is one thing you wish people knew about you or your social event?
about Haiti, recently, I might go on a tangent about this, but recently there have been so much, like there's been talks about like mission trips to Africa and everything, and how people have this like white savior narrative. And I've been thinking about how when I was younger, we used to go to Haiti every year, there were always white Christian people going on mission trips, and I always wondered like what they did, and a lot of it was after the 2010 earthquake, so I guess they felt like a responsibility to be there. But I feel like the change lies within the Haitian government, and they keep their money from the public, which is hard. But I feel like when people go to Haiti, they go to resorts, and they probably like drive through the busy streets, and they probably feel uncomfortable because of all the people that are still out on the streets. But it's mainly because the government cares more about the resorts that foreign people come to rather than literally fixing the roads after 10 years. And there are still some people that think that all Haitian people have AIDS for some reason. And a lot of people think of Haiti in a really weird way, especially since a while ago Donald Trump called Haiti and a bunch of African countries shitholes. And it's just really annoying, because when I go to Haiti, it's really beautiful. And I might be biased because my family is honestly pretty fortunate. But the way everyone sees Haiti really pisses me off. And then with Holland, I don't actually hear a lot of people talk about Holland, and I wish they would, because it's really beautiful. And I guess because they sort of live in a more socialist society, so my dad says. And so people might see it as sort of utopia. But yeah, I just want people to learn more about these places that I come from, because I just hear so much awful stuff.
Or do these identities isolate you from others?
I don't think they isolate me from others, but I isolate myself from them on occasion. Just because it's hard to see how people are struggling in Haiti, and I feel really fortunate and really bad that my family is safe and I'm safe being in America. And yeah, it's just hard to see that and not know what to do, or know that my family has no control over it. And sometimes I feel guilty on behalf of them, that I go there and I feel bad, but then I go home to our family houses and we're completely fine.
What advice would you give to people who exhibit more mental identities?
To find several people who can identify with these things, because sometimes it's hard to try to find like one person who identifies with all of the things that you do, because there's so many different people in the world, and sometimes it is hard to join the different parts of yourself. But it's more important to find specific people that you can just connect to and feel safe with.